And it is interesting, right? Because we are now operating in a rapidly changing environment, marketplace. Things are constantly changing with social media and technology and globalization. So then how do we create competencies that last and that don't get outdated? TJ.
I wouldn't try.
Yeah, is there a way?
I haven't come across it. I think there are certain categories that you can talk about, and so I'll use one category to explain why I'm hesitant to do that. So we have this category we call relationship mastery, people skills. And so everybody goes, yeah, you gotta have that there. But what you emphasize in that depends upon where you are, not only in the life cycle of your corporation, but in your particular strategy at that time, and in the world, in the environment. So we recognize that we had emphasized on an individual level what was really important in relationship mastery, and it wasn't serving us well. We had to really shift the emphasis to how do you participate in a team. We're a big proponent of Roger Schwarz's work, and his leading from every chair work is important to us. So we had to say, your possession of this competency, or even our definition of this competency, really is about how you are in teams, because most of the work is done in teams there. And that's very different than saying, well, do I get along, and do I, with other people individually? You've got a different competency then. So it's like, well, how does that then shift? What does expertise look like in that competency? Expertise in relationship mastery, with that emphasis on teams, focuses much more on, can you shift the team? Can you coach the team from any angle? Even if you are not the formal leader of the team, are you good at coaching the team? How are you at those relationships with other teams, those kind of boundary relationships that are there? So that's just one example for us that I don't think that it makes sense to try to find some enduring verities as competencies there. Obviously, you can't do your job in whatever industry is represented in this room here unless there's technical acumen. But technical acumen changes. We have a lot of people who can create paper and pencil tests. It is a very different matter to create a test that is digital. We have people who can create digital tests. It is a very different matter to create a test that is not multiple choice, not open-ended or essay, but is a simulation. It is a different matter, again, to create a test that is a game and a game that is a test. So to say, well, it's technical acumen and it's these particular things about making a test there, I don't know what the next one is. It's holograms or whatever. But I assure you, it's coming. And so we've already changed. This is what's remarkable to me, is that the popular press doesn't catch this, is that what is talked about as testing is changing dramatically. We are going to get to a point in the next several years where students will stop taking tests. Data will simply be collected from tasks that they are performing in the middle of their work there, and the response will be immediate. So that's a completely different competency than it was to create the SAT that I took in 1969.
Robert, what are your thoughts on this, creating competencies that can last and that don't get outdated?
Yeah, I have sort of two sides to that. One side is I'm with TJ. You can't create lasting competencies and think they're going to last. We're moving too fast. Things are changing too fast. I would say that the competencies that we have, what lasts is create them from your business targets. Create them from your business goals, whatever those goals are, as they change too. But if you start from the business goal, we need to achieve this amount of income with this client in this way, and you backtrack that all the way to the individual role that's a part of that, then I think you've got something that'll work as a competency. But start with the business goals. That's and backtrack to the specific roles. I wanted to say that there is, and I think we may be talking about this later, I'm not sure, but to start with Rosianna's idea of fearlessness, I do think there's some competencies for us as learning people that do last. One that we use at Ketchum for learning, okay, this is not for PR, it's a competency for how we learn at Ketchum. We use head, heart, and feet. It's pretty simple. If you're going to teach something or learn something or communicate something to somebody, it needs to be a clear concept for the head. The speaker needs to care about it emotionally, and the listener needs to also care about it emotionally. It takes two hearts. And then there needs to be a few steps for the feet. What are you going to do with it? Not a big standard operating procedural manual, just here's the first couple of steps. If you have a clear concept, you have this emotional engagement with that's a worthwhile thing to do, and then you know how to do the first couple of steps of it, you can really go. Head, heart, and feet. That is our learning competency at Ketchum, and I do think that lasts. I don't think that changes. I think that just has to do with how we are as human beings. And that sounded similar to me to what Rosianna was talking about with fearlessness.
Rosanna, your thoughts on creating competencies that can last and don't get outdated?
I think that notion of creating the competency for the ages is obscene. I think everything that Robert and TJ have discussed demonstrate that. The minute you go down the road to get that goal, you are at risk of building the very best buggy whip, and that does nothing to help us build competitive advantage. I think that as the work changes, just as my two colleagues have explained, the competencies come from that. I think the challenge right now is work is changing so dramatically and so quickly that we have to build a new kind of talent, the game changer in my view for competitive advantage. That means every aspect of learning is embedded in the workplace. The workplace becomes one massive development crucible through learning. And that requires competencies that are always evolving. The only competency that should be sustainable is the one that's constantly changing. A focused flexibility, if you will, on the value that needs to be created to be competitive. In sum, I agree with Robert and TJ.